It's Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Let's talk about the news. From the New York Times, Federal Appeals Court rejects Trump's claim of absolute immunity. A U.S. federal judge has rejected a claim made by former President Trump that he is immune from prosecution for things he did while in office, which he says were in service of his official responsibilities, including attempting to overturn the 2020 presidential election that he lost to current President Biden. This ruling was unanimous, decided by a 3-judge panel at the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., and it's being seen as a defeat for Trump, who hoped this would help him dodge a slew of legal issues related to his alleged election interference activities, though he's likely to appeal the ruling to the Supreme Court in the near future, which is then likely to decide the matter, though they could also decide to allow this appeal court's ruling to stand. From the Financial Times, EU backs down on agricultural emissions after farmers' protests. The European Commission has removed a recommended greenhouse gas reduction target from its proposed roadmap for achieving its climate-related goals, following a wave of protests by farmers across the bloc. The removed target suggested that EU nations should try to cut agricultural emissions, mostly from nitrogen and methane, by 30% as part of a larger effort to cut all such emissions by 90% by 2040. Farmers contended that this would reduce their already razor-thin profits to unsustainable levels and held flashy protests in large cities, gumming up roads and blocking traffic to make their point. Riot police were deployed in a few instances, though these protests remained relatively peaceful, and now it would seem that some sustainability-related efforts are being set aside in order to appease this population, partially to keep the economy ticking along, and partially, it's suspected, for political purposes, since they tend to be a powerful voting bloc in rural parts of these countries. And from Reuters, Turkey agrees to provide drones to Egypt. The Turkish government has agreed to provide its Bayraktar TB2 drones to Egypt, following a normalization of relations between the two countries last year. This is notable because Turkey and Egypt are both power players in the Middle East, and Turkey's drones are popular because they're cheap and effective. This purchase implies Egypt is investing in an upgraded military presence as we step into the drone era. The performance of such weapons, especially compared to far more costly missiles, in the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza, increasing demand and upping the influence of nations like Turkey and Iran, which make reputable, exportable models. If you're finding some value in one-sentence news, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.